Welcome to the ninth lecture of Economics and Management. In today's lecture, we will cover these topics: returns to scale, what is returns to scale expansion path, output elasticity and returns to scale, product transformation curve, ISO revenue curve, optimal mix and how technical change affects the production. So what is meaning of returns to scale? Returns to scale is the magnitude of percentage change in the output of firm when each factor of production undergoes a given percentage change. So, if you remember in last lecture, we have seen one concept that is returns to factor. So, you may get confused between returns to scale and returns to factor. So, what is meaning of returns to scale? If each factor of production, that is every input factor, changes by some value, then by what percent or by what value the production changes. For example, the output factors, input factors are or production factors are like labor, capital, input material or raw material. If all these factor or each of these factor changes, then by what value production will change. This is known as returns to scale. So, returns to scale of a production system describes the increase in output resulting from a proportionate increase in all inputs, right? All inputs. If there is increase in capital, if there is increase in labor, if there is increase in raw material, then how much increase in production or output? If the percentage increase in output is greater, the percentage increase in inputs, then it is case of increasing returns to scale. Now there are three concepts in this: increasing returns to scale, constant return to scale, decreasing returns to scale, and one more, that is variable returns to scale. So what is meaning of increasing returns to scale? If the percentage increase in output is greater the percentage increase in input, means for example, if you increase capital by 10%, labor by 10%, and raw material by 10%, and your production increases by 20%, then it is increasing returns to scale. That is, the percentage change in input is less than increase in output. Now, if let's say you have increased your capital by 10%, labor by 10%, and raw material by 10%, and your production increases only by 5%, then it is known as a decreasing returns to scale. That is, if the percentage increasing output is less than percentage increasing inputs, then it is decreasing returns to scale. And if you have increased capital by 10%, labor by 10%, and raw material by 10%, and there is a 10% increase in production, then it is known as a constant returns to scale. Now there is one more concept, that is variable returns to scale, which is not given in the slide. So what is meaning of variable returns to scale? If you increase your input factors by some percent, then at some point your output or production will get increase, but after some point it will get decrease. Again after some point it will get increase. So there is a variability in the production. So that is known as a variable returns to scale. Now, what is the difference between returns to scale and returns to factor? So, returns to factor is the magnitude of percentage change in output of a firm when particular factor of a production undergoes a given percentage change. Means, in returns to factor, only one input factor changes. For example, only capital changes. Labor and raw material remains constant. After keeping labor and raw material constant, if we change only capital by some percent, then by what percent production will change? That is known as returns to factor. But in case of returns to scale, all input factor changes. So this is the difference between returns to factor and returns to scale. Now this is graph that shows a constant return to scale, increasing returns to scale and decreasing returns to scale. In first graph, it shows as x and y are inputs that are given on x-axis. or combination of inputs, let's say capital and labor, and on y-axis there is q, that is production. So if as x and y changes, the rate of change in x and y is same as the rate in change in production, that is constant returns to scale. So the graph is straight line. In increasing returns to scale, the change in or the increase in x and y is less than increasing production. That is, if x and y changes by 10%, then there will be 20% increasing production. So that is increasing returns to scale. And third graph shows decreasing returns to scale. That is, x and y, as you increase x and y, your production also increases, but the percentage change in x and y is more than the percentage change in q. That is, if you increase input x and y by 10%, then your q increases, but it will not increase as 10%. It will be less than 10%. It will be 5% or it will be 7%. After some point, it will get constant, and after particular point, it will start decreasing. So that is decreasing returns to scale. Now, this is, if you remember, in last lecture we have seen isocont. So on x-axis, x1 and x2 are two inputs. On y-axis, y1, y2 are inputs, and q1 is one production curve and q2 is second production curve. Now what it says, if we increase x1 from some value to x2, and we are increasing it by some factor, and that factor is 1 plus f. Again, we are increasing input y1 to y2 by some factor, and that factor is 1 plus f. So value of x2 is 1 plus f into x1, and value of y2 is 1 plus f into y1. So at input x1 and y1, we are getting production q1, and at input x2 and y2, we are getting production q2. Now, if we are increasing x1 by value 1 plus f, and we are increasing value y1 by 1 plus f. After increasing x and y by value 1 plus f, if your q1 also changes by value 1 plus f, then that is a constant returns to scale. That is q2 equals to 1 plus f into q1. Now, again you have increased x1 by 1 plus f value, and you have increased y1 by 1 plus f value. And if your q2 increases by value more than 1 plus f, that is q2 is greater than 1 plus f into q1, then that is increasing returns to scale. And if your q2 is less than 1 plus f into q1, then that is decreasing returns to scale. Now next is, again in last lecture we have seen a Cobb-Douglas production function, a very famous production function. So what it says, q equals to a into x raised to b, y into y raised to c. So it is a power function, that is x and y are inputs, and how they are related to the q, that is production. If you take log of it, it will become a linear function. So ln q equals to ln a plus b into ln x plus c into ln y. Now dq by q, that is change in q, equals to b into change in x plus c into change in y. So how change in x and change in y affects the change in q? Change in q means change in production, and change in x and y means change in input factors. Since all input factors are increasing by the same proportion, right? Say f, the following holds, means x and y are changing by same percentage or same proportion. Then what you can say, dx by x, that is change in x, equals to dy by y, that is change in y, equals to f. So what the equation will become? dq by q equals to b plus c into f. Now if b plus c equals to 1, then it is a constant returns to scale. If b plus c is greater than 1, then it is a case of increasing returns to scale. And if b plus c is less than 1, then it is a case of decreasing returns to scale. Now next is output elasticity and returns to scale. We have seen what is the meaning of elasticity. We have seen price elasticity. That is, if price will increase by 1%, then how demand will get affected. So what it says, output elasticity epsilon q for production is the percentage change in output associated with 1% increase in all inputs. If all inputs like labor, capital, input material changes by 1%, then by what percent your production will get affect. So epsilon q equals to del q by q, that is percentage change in production, divided by del x by x, that is percentage change in x. Now in this case x is represented as all inputs. So how percentage change in all inputs affects the percentage change in q. So it can be written as del q by del x into x by q. So where x represents all inputs, that is capital, labor, raw material, and so on. So if epsilon q is greater than 1, then it will be case of increasing returns to scale. If epsilon q equals to 1, it implies constant returns to scale. And if epsilon q is less than 1, it implies diminishing returns to scale or decreasing returns to scale. Now next is product transformation curve. So when we are using product transformation curve, where it is applicable to the two product firm. For example, any company who is producing a tomato ketchup. Now that company is producing two types of tomato ketchups. One is uh, bitter in taste and one is sweet in taste. Now this is the example where a single firm produces two products. Now this curve basically shows the locus of combination of outputs for a given input. Right. It is downward sloping because an increasing in output of one product results in decrease of output of another. For example, if that tomato ketchup company started to produce a sweet ketchup more in quantity, then their production of ketchup, which is bitter in taste, will get reduced. Right, for same amount of input, we are talking about same amount of input. Or if they started to produce ketchup which is bitter in taste more, then they will produce less ketchup which is sweet in taste. So this is shown by product transformation curve. So on x-axis there is product 1, on y-axis there is product 2. So if you see carefully, the first curve shows if product 2 production increases, the production of product 1 decreases. Or if product of production of product 2 decreases, production of product 1 increases. So if we increase the input, the curve will go higher. But again, uh, in comparison with second curve or in comparison with first curve, the same situation happens. Though the input have increased, the production may get increased, but the production of one product will affect the production of second product. This is known as a product transformation curve. Now next is iso revenue curve. So this shows the iso revenue curve. Again, if the if the production of product 1 and product 2 increases, then your revenue will get increases. At first line shows the production of product 1 and product 2, the combination of inputs. For same combination of inputs, it will show the production of product 1 and product 2. If we increase the input material, or if you increase the production of product 1 and product 2, you will get higher revenue. So this is iso revenue curve. Now optimal product mix. So the red line shows the iso revenue curve, the gray line shows, or gray curve shows the production transformation curve or product transformation curve. So at the point where they meet each other, if you produce product 1 by that much amount, and if you produce product 2 by that much amount, then you will get more revenue. You will get more revenue. So that will be the optimum value of product 1 and product 2 should be produced. Now, technical change. Technological change obviously affects the production. There are two types. First is process change and second is product change. So first graph shows process change. So on x-axis, x is one input and y-axis, y is one input. So what it says, for same output with less input. For example, if you want to get q as output and you are using some amount of x and some amount of y, if you reduce the input material and if you use superior technology, you can get same output. But if you use inferior technology, you have to put more value of x and y, that is you have to use more inputs. So for getting some output, same output with less input, you have to use superior technology, or superior technology will give you same output with the less input. So that is process change. And product change is q1 on y-axis, that is q1 is one product and q2 is second product on x-axis. So you will get more output with the same input if you use inferior technology, if you use superior technology, right? So if you use superior technology, your q1 and q2 will get increased, and if you use inferior technology, you will get less output with the same input. So this is how technology affects to the production. So for now today we will stop. Thank you.